Hey, welcome to Loose Change, the show that asks the question, what is the question? Or there's no question, we have a good show for you. Hi, I'm Jim Evans. Thanks for joining us again. It's an interesting time of year in baseball, isn't it? Especially for the Indians, more so off the field. How about Chris Perez, pitcher Chris Perez? He has a package of marijuana delivered to his house. And then the rumor was, a few days later, he and his wife were at a bank trying to open a joint checking account. Come on. The Miami Heat just celebrated their second straight NBA championship, had a big party in Miami. Afterwards, they had a big parade, which went out of downtown to I-95, then to Route 66, and then right to the Kardashian girls' house. So they were good to go. Speaking of the Kardashians, of course, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West just had a baby girl, and the word is that she has taken a real liking to her grandmother, Bruce Jenner. So it's working out pretty good. Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans, and I am very fortunate to have with me a guy that I've come to know over the years and work with, and even more importantly, a gentleman I call one of my very best friends. He is Denny Liebert, and Denny, thanks so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
You look great here. He's got the golf hat on. He's ready to go. He's got the clubs over there.
When I heard you say loose change, I was thinking loose cannon.
Well, you know, a lot of folks know you as one of the veteran and most accomplished sportscasters in our area.
Old.
Veteran.
Yeah, okay.
Veteran. What was it that when was it that you knew, hey, I want to be a sportscaster? How did that happen for you?
I don't know. I never gave it any thought. I don't know.
I know you're big into sports.
Yeah.
You've been a big sports fan. You love sports. Was there a time when you said, this is what I'm going to do?
Wow. I always wanted to be a priest, believe it or not. My uncle was a Dominican priest, Irish envoy to the Vatican, and he was St. Bonaventure University, and kind of influenced me that way, but no,
Well, you could have been an announcer for the Cardinals or the Saints. You know, that kind of works.
Here we go. I guess maybe when I was at Niles, maybe I was never good enough to play very much, too small and stuff. So I was always around the program and stuff, and had a liking for it. So I guess maybe when I went to OU, there were some guys ahead of me that went from Niles to OU, and when I went there, a buddy of mine convinced me, said, "Come to school here," and they have one of the best broadcasting schools in the country.
Right.
And at that point, I was,
is that what you went for, to go to Ohio U for broadcasting?
I didn't even want to go to college, to be honest with you. I mean, I just lost my microphone. At that
That's
point,
all right. The situation is fluid.
I think I wasn't at that point in time. I wasn't even sure I wanted to go to college, to be honest with you. But it was something that it was a luxury if you had the opportunity to do it in those days. So I did, and really wasn't quite sure what I wanted. As a matter of fact, when I went to OU, I had a bunch of, like, the electives and requirements you have to take. I had a bunch of electives that I took, concentrated like in psychology and history and stuff, because I really wasn't sure. And I guess maybe that's what influenced me. That's a good question. Who knows why?
Well, once you got into the broadcasting program down there, then obviously the sports took hold. And
well,
went that direction.
And that's the thing about OU, which there is some truth in that. There's so many different avenues in this business, and they are, at that time, I think, ranked number 2 in the country to Michigan State. You can. In
terms of broadcasting and people that have gone on.
Their accreditation, I think, was second to Michigan State in the country back in the early 70s. So once you got in, then there was all kinds of avenues. I mean, it was overwhelming. The television facilities and the radio broadcast stuff they had there was just unbelievable.
So you were really fortunate in that regard to be there.
Very much.
So when you get out of school, you come back here and hook up with Channel 21? Is that how it went, or otherwise?
Actually, I was working in Athens when I left school. I worked for WATH. Jeff Kelly and I, for a year. We were together at school, and we worked together on probably a commercial station down there. And then a year there, I didn't want to stay in Athens anymore. I mean, I was like, man, this is not what I wanted. So at age 22, I came back home.
Which was just 7 years ago.
Yeah. I wish. Art Greenberg. Art had been at OU, had done a lot of stuff there, and ultimately was the anchor in sports for 21.
Right, I remember that.
And he had just hired a guy named Jack Corrigan 6 months earlier to take over for him because Art was going to leave.
Right.
So they were looking for someone to take the weekend position. And there were like 27 guys, I guess, that applied. And I was thinking, well, what can it hurt? 23, I'm 22, 23 years old, who cares? So I auditioned, and they gave me the job. You know, Greenberg Candy said, kid, you ain't too bad. So
No, you were better than.
well, and I did.
Ain't too bad.
Well, that was, when I think about it now, to be on the air that young, so.
It was a great opportunity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, ironically, then you had to take a brief leave, and I had the opportunity to step in for you, and then our association began then. So I was very fortunate in that regard, just to, pardon me, have the opportunity, but certainly the circumstances not what I would have liked.
The only guy in the world I've ever seen that had done all from start to finish, news, weather, sports.
Well, that was an interesting story for another time when I had to do the whole show.
Did everything, right? Yeah.
But you've done obviously, the TV thing, and your work in radio is without compare. What do you like better, TV or radio?
I guess in some ways they're both appealing. I don't care for the television side a whole lot because you have to have I always kind of thought, without being condescending, you need an appearance. Whether you like to believe it or not, you have to have that appearance. Right. And it's a young man's game. Radio, there's more staying power in radio, I guess, if you will, and there's more things that are available in radio to do. But the play-by-play aspect of it, and I even did that in television. So
sure.
I mean, in many ways, there are parallels that are both appealing. Yeah.
But you got to do some neat things in TV. What might be a memorable story or two from
the people you meet? I think that's the key. I mean, when you get a chance, there are so many celebrities that I think what people forget is you can be the eyes and ears of people out in the audience that don't get that opportunity. I mean, I remember sitting there talking with Brooks Robinson. I'm thinking to myself, wow, I idolized this guy as a kid.
That's right.
And that's nice stuff. I mean, and like
Frank Robinson, you always tell me that story.
That's a tremendous story. I approached him. It was opening day when he was managing the Orioles now. He'd left Cleveland. He was managing the Orioles. And I approached him and I said, because I had actually in mind something I wanted to do. We had already done an interview with Willie Stargell, who at this time had left the Pirates. Yeah, he was he was the assistant at this time with the Atlanta Braves.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do, because of his position and then Robinson as a manager, the African-American approach as to managerial level in baseball. And I thought, wow, I got Stargell's interview, so I said, well, let's get Robinson. So my photographer was a guy named Charlie Brunswick.
Sure.
So we approached Robinson in the batting cage. And I said, Mr. Robinson, he blew me off. And I'm like, you creep. I said, I've always, since I was a kid, he blew me off. I was like, okay. So I said, well, that's the end of that story. Sometimes the best laid plans. So now I'm going around to other players, and I approach Elrod Hendricks. And he's great.
Catcher, right?
Yeah, he and I are laughing like you and I would. We're standing along the first base dugout, and we're laughing, and Robinson goes by, and he sees Elrod Hendricks apparently having a good time talking to me. And Hendricks makes some remark to him, and Robinson goes, I'll be over in a minute. And I thought to myself, okay. So sure enough, he approaches me. Now, at this point, cameras came out of everywhere. There were guys on top of the dugouts and sticking boom mics in his face. He looked at me and said, I'll talk only to you.
Nice.
And I asked him afterward, I said, why? He said, because you didn't bother me. He goes, when I told you no, you were good with that. So it worked.
You're right about that. You and I go back and forth about stories in television and the opportunity to have associations and meet the people that we've had the chance to do so.
That's the biggest
So that was pretty cool.
I think it is.
Pretty cool doing that.
Yeah.
Your work in radio has gained a lot of recognition as well. Last year, you get the OHSAA media.
You guys rigged that. You guys rigged that.
No, it wasn't rigged.
Yeah, you rigged that.
It was legitimate.
Okay.
The presentation that we had on our radio show was, but certainly not your nomination and you're winning the award. And that has to mean something to you. It's recognition from people not only around here, but from around the state.
Anytime somebody's willing to compliment you, if you're foolish enough not to accept that, shame on you. Anytime, yeah. So, the fact that it came from my peers, guys that I work with.
Exactly. There you are.
That's important. Yeah, it is.
And that says a lot about your work in what you do for our high school football broadcast coverage at Clear Channel, and your what do I want to say? Your connectivity and your own personal web in connection with high school coaches around the state. And most people know who Denny Liebert is when it comes to high school football.
Some do. There's a
good percentage.
Couple of friends I've got, yeah, and that's time. It's like
that has to mean a lot to you.
If you reflect back and you're able to develop some friends, that's important. In and out of the business. I mean, if you can pick up a telephone and say, "Hey, Jimmy, I need some help," and he's there for you.
It means a lot.
Yeah, it does. And to do what we do, it's like when they initially kind of brought me on over at Clear Channel. They wanted to. Jimmy Campbell kind of opened the door and he said, "Dang, I don't have to tell you what to do. Find something to do and let it go." So it kind of grew from nothing to a lot.
So you grabbed your lob web and went to work. So, Denny Liebert. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with more with Denny here on Loose Change. Stick around.
Yeah, you going to tell that story?
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans again, and rejoined by another great friend, jazz musician extraordinaire, Jerry B. Good to see you again,
Good
pal.
to see you.
And you have a special event coming up that you're involved in and
Excited
spearheading,
about.
and
Yeah.
let's get right to it. What's coming? What's
the
going on?
Youngstown Jazz Fest. If you remember, we were here in February and we were telling you that it was coming up.
That's
So
right.
it's upon us. July 14th, Sunday. Grammy Award winner Kirk Whalum. Been in the business 30 years. Everybody knows Kirk Whalum's sound, although they may not recognize his name. Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, her mega hit. He was a saxophone player on that. Been with Luther Vandross, Barbra Streisand, Quincy Jones, Bob James. He is the man. And so he's going to come down. Central Square, Sound Doctrine is opening, and it's going to be a great evening. Tickets are available at Youngstown Nation. They're available at Wine Styles in Howland, at Jimmy's Italian Specialties on Belmont, at Family Christian Center in Boardman, at Quest Bookstore in Coatesville inside Victory Christian Center. General admission tickets are $20. Bring your own chair, Love to bring your chairs and your umbrellas, your blankets, as well as limited seating, $50 for VIP seating. And you don't have to bring your own chair.